I'll write part 1. The Exile in about 800 words using simple English with Korean names in third-person style as requested. The day the aliens came changed everything. It was a regular Tuesday morning when the massive ships appeared in Earth's sky. They hung there like dark clouds blocking the sun in many cities around the world. Minho stood at the command center of Earth's United Space Command in Seoul. His uniform felt tight around his neck as he watched the screens showing alien ships over New York, London, Beijing, and dozens of other major cities. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Jiwoo, the communications officer. Her voice shook slightly. The main screen flickered. A strange being appeared. It had blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. "People of Earth," it said in perfect English. "I am Representative Keel of the Galactic Council. We have watched your kind for some time. We have come to a decision about your future." Minho straightened his back. As the highest-ranking military officer present, he had to respond. "This is Commander Minho Kim of Earth's United Space Command. We welcome peaceful contact with your people." The alien made a sound like rocks sliding together. It might have been a laugh. "Peace is not what concerns us, Commander. Your species develops technology too quickly. Your history shows too much fighting. The Council has voted. You are a danger to the galaxy." The room fell silent. Minho felt his heart beating fast. "We have just begun exploring our own solar system. We have no way to threaten your people." "Not yet," said Keel. "But soon. Very soon. That is why we act now." On the other screens, reports came in of smaller alien ships moving to positions around Earth's solar system. "What are you doing?" asked Minho. "The Council has decided. Humanity will remain in this solar system. You may not leave. A barrier is being created that will prevent any ship from crossing beyond your outermost planet." Young-ho, the science officer, looked up from his readings. "Commander, they're creating some kind of energy field at the edge of our solar system. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." "You can't trap us here," Minho said to the alien. "That goes against all ideas of freedom and self-determination." "Your feelings on the matter are not important," said Keel. "This is the judgment of the Galactic Council. 7 ancient species have agreed. You are too dangerous to join galactic society. The barrier will stand for as long as necessary." "And if we try to break through?" Minho asked, though he already knew the answer. "Extinction," Keel said simply. "We would rather not destroy a sentient species, but we will if forced. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few." The alien's image disappeared from the screen. Reports flooded in from space stations and satellites. The barrier was complete. Humanity was trapped within their own solar system. 3 days later, Minho stood before the emergency meeting of world leaders. His uniform was wrinkled from 3 days without sleep. "The barrier is real," he told them. "Our best ships cannot pass through it. When we try, the energy simply pushes us back. If we push harder, the ships begin to break apart." President Subin of the United Nations asked, "How long will this last?" They didn't say. "Maybe forever." Minho looked at the tired faces around him. "But I don't plan to accept that." "What can we do against beings with such power?" asked Prime Minister Taehyun. Minho walked to the window. Outside, people gathered in the streets. Some prayed, some protested. Many just looked up at the sky in fear. "We adapt," said Minho. "We've always been good at that. They think they know us from studying our past, but they don't understand what humans can do when backed into a corner." He turned back to face the room. "We'll need to work together like never before. Resources will be tight with just one solar system. We need to build colonies on Mars, the Moon, even floating cities on Venus. We need to mine the asteroids, and most importantly, we need to study that barrier, find its weaknesses." "That could take generations," said someone in the back. "Then that's how long it takes," Minho said firmly. "I'm establishing Project Phoenix today. Its mission, to ensure humanity not only survives this exile but emerges stronger. One day we'll break free of this cage, and when we do, the galaxy will know that humanity cannot be contained." As the meeting continued deep into the night, Minho found himself looking up at the stars. They seemed farther away now, like a promise, just out of reach. But he made a silent vow to those distant lights. We'll be back. And when we return, it won't be as prisoners begging for mercy. It will be as equals, or better. The sun rose over Luna City, marking 70 years since humanity's exile. Admiral Minho, now 93, watched from his window as workers built another dome on the lunar surface. His wrinkled hands rested on a cane made from Martian wood, a gift from the colonies there. "The council thinks we've given up," he said, to his assistant Gia, who stood nearby. "They check the barrier only once every few years now." Gia nodded. "Their patrols are becoming predictable. Since the exile, humanity had changed. Earth now housed 15 billion people in massive arcologies that reached into the sky. Mars had 3 major cities. Venus had floating habitats in its upper atmosphere. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn supported mining operations. Humanity had made their prison into a home, but it wasn't enough. Not for Minho. "Is Dr. Jiho ready?" Minho asked. "Yes, sir. He's waiting in the lab." They took the elevator down, deep below the lunar surface. The doors opened to reveal a large chamber filled with strange equipment. In the center stood a small, thin man with bright eyes despite his age. "Admiral." Dr. Jiho bowed slightly. "I think we've done it." Minho's heart beat faster. "Show me." Dr. Jiho led them to a viewing window. Beyond it was a test chamber where a small probe sat on a launch pad. "The barrier works by creating a field that prevents matter from passing through," explained Dr. Jiho. "But it's based on quantum principles, and quantum physics has holes." On a screen, they watched as the probe launched. A smaller screen showed its position approaching the barrier, at the edge of the solar system. "Now," whispered Dr. Jiho. The probe seemed to flicker. On the tracking screen it disappeared, then reappeared, on the other side of the barrier. "It worked," Gia gasped. "How?" asked Minho, leaning forward. "We created a temporary quantum tunnel. The barrier can't block what it can't detect. It's like slipping between the raindrops." Minho smiled for the first time in years. "Can we scale it up? For a ship?" "Not yet," said Dr. Jiho. "But given time, yes. The barrier has a pattern. It pulses. There are moments when it's weaker. With enough power, we could create a gap big enough for a ship." Later that night, Minho sat at his desk writing in his journal. His hands shook slightly as he wrote. "I won't live to see humans free among the stars," he wrote, "but I've set the path. Project Phoenix will continue." 3 months later, Minho lay in his bed. His breathing was shallow. Around him stood the leaders of the Solar Coalition, the United Go. Firmament of humanity. "Admiral Do-hyun," Minho said weakly, looking at his former student. "You understand what must be done?" Admiral Do-hyun knelt beside the bed. "Yes, sir." "Project Phoenix isn't just about breaking the barrier," Minho whispered. "It's about what comes after. We can't just escape, we need somewhere to go. Somewhere the Council won't find us." "The deep scans have identified several star systems beyond Council space," said Do-hyun. "We've been studying them for decades." "Good." Minho reached under his pillow and pulled out a small data chip. "This contains everything. The quantum tunnel technology, the star maps, and my final orders." Do-hyun took the chip carefully. "We won't return to Council space right away," Minho continued. "We'll build in secret, grow strong, learn, and when we're ready, when we're strong enough that they can't simply push us back into our cage, then we'll reveal ourselves." "It could take centuries," said someone in the back. "Then that's how long it takes," Minho replied, echoing words he had spoken 7 decades earlier. 2 weeks later, Admiral Do-hyun stood in the control room of Earth's largest shipyard, hidden inside the asteroid Ceres. Before him was the Firebird, the first ship designed to pass the barrier. "Begin countdown," he ordered. As the massive engines powered up, Do-hyun thought of Minho. The old admiral had been right. Humanity wouldn't stay trapped forever. The ship rose silently from its berth. No one outside the project knew of its existence. It would slip through the barrier during the next pulse weakness, carrying 2,000 colonists to a distant star. And it would be just the first of many. 200 years had passed since the first Exodus ship slipped through the barrier. What had begun as desperate escape had grown into something remarkable. Humanity now existed on 53 worlds in 26 star systems, all carefully chosen to be beyond the reach of Galactic Council patrols. On the planet Nova Terra, Yunha walked through her laboratory's garden dome. Plants from Earth grew alongside native species with purple and blue leaves. She stopped to touch a flower that looked like a rose, but glowed softly in the dim light. "Beautiful, isn't it?" asked her assistant, June. "Hard to believe our ancestors once lived in just one solar system." Yuna nodded. "The Council did us a favor, though they didn't mean to. They forced us to become better than we were." Her comm unit beeped. "Director Yunha, the final test is ready." She hurried back to the main lab where her team waited around. A device that looked like a simple metal sphere. This small object was the culmination of decades of work, quantum communication technology that could send messages instantly across any distance. "Begin the test," she ordered. June typed commands into his console. "Sending signal to Harmony Colony. Now." Everyone held their breath. The existing communication system between human worlds took weeks or months, depending on distance. This would change everything. The sphere glowed briefly. Then a voice came through, clear as if the person were standing in the room. "Nova Terra, this is Harmony Colony. We receive you perfectly. Message delay, 0.3 seconds. The room erupted in cheers. Yuna closed her eyes, savoring the moment. What they had just done was beyond even the Council's capabilities. "Send the success code to all colonies," she said when the celebration quieted. "And inform Admiral Junho that Phase 1 is complete." Thousands of light years away on the edge of human space, a patrol ship drifted silently. Captain Minjay watched his sensors carefully. This region was dangerously close to Council territory, but the minerals in the nearby asteroid field were too valuable to ignore. "Captain," called his sensor officer, "I'm detecting an unusual energy signature." Minjay frowned. "Source?" "Unknown." It appeared suddenly, heading toward Council space. Minjay's blood ran cold. He knew what that meant. "Sound alert. Prepare to jump to emergency coordinates." But it was too late. A massive ship emerged from the darkness, unlike any human vessel. It was a Council patrol cruiser. "They've spotted us," said the sensor officer. "They're changing course." Minjay hit the emergency. "Comm. This is Captain Minjay of Patrol Ship Horizon. We have Council contact. Repeat Council contact, initiating protocol blackout." His ship powered down all non-essential systems and began drifting. It was a desperate move, but they were too far from home to outrun the alien vessel. On the bridge of the Council ship, Observer Trell studied the readings with all four of his eyes. "Interesting," he said to his commander. "That vessel doesn't match any known design in our database." Commander Lask looked at the image. "Its technology appears primitive. Perhaps a new species we haven't encountered yet." "In this region?" "Unlikely." Trell adjusted his instruments. "Wait, these material readings, they're similar to human technology." Lask stared at him. "Impossible. Humans are contained in their home system. Perhaps we should investigate more closely." Back on Nova Terra, the emergency message from the Horizon reached Admiral Junho in his underground command center. He read it twice, then looked up at his officers. "It's happened," he said quietly. "The Council has found us." His second-in-command, Sujin, asked, "Do we run? Hide deeper?" Junho shook his head. "No. We've prepared for this day for 2 centuries." He turned to his communications officer. "Send word to all colonies. Activate the defense grid. Begin deploying." "The fleet, sir," said Sujin. "Our oldest settlements might be discovered. That's why we need to act quickly." Junho replied. Director Yunha's quantum network is ready just in time. We can coordinate like never before. He stood, his face determined. The council thinks they'll find a few scattered humans. Instead, they'll discover that exile didn't weaken us, it made us stronger. As alarms sounded throughout human space, ships that had been hidden for decades emerged from secret bases. On 53 worlds, people who had never known Earth prepared for the fight that would determine their future. The silent centuries were over. The council ships arrived at Nova Terra like dark clouds gathering before a storm. 7 massive vessels, each larger than anything humans had built. Ook positions around the planet. Admiral Junho watched from the bridge of his flagship, the Phoenix Ascendant, hidden behind Nova Terra's largest moon. They've sent a transmission, said his communications officer. A large screen flickered to life. The face that appeared belonged to an alien with gray skin and vertical pupils. Gold markings covered its forehead. This is High Arbiter Talos of the Galactic Council. We address the human settlement on this world. Your presence outside your designated system violates council decree. You will surrender immediately and prepare for relocation back to your home system. Junho smiled slightly. They think this is just one lost colony. His second in command, Sujin, nodded. They have no idea what they're facing. Junho pressed a button on his chair. This is Admiral Junho of the Terran Expeditionary Force. We acknowledge your message. The alien's eyes widened slightly at the formal military title. You will surrender. Your ships and technology. The Council's judgment stands. Humanity is confined to its birth system. I'm afraid that's no longer possible, Junho replied calmly. Humans have spread too far. We've built too much. Your defiance is noted but meaningless, said Talos. You have one planetary settlement with primitive defenses. The Council fleet will... Actually, Junho interrupted. We have more than that. He nodded to Sujin, who activated a sequence on her console. Across human space, on 50 worlds, special transmitters powered up. The quantum network that Yuna had perfected came to life. Suddenly, the screens on every council ship filled with images, planets with human cities, space stations, shipyards, and fleets. What is this? Demanded Talos. This is who we are now, said Junho. Not one settlement, but an empire of 53. Worlds, not hiding but waiting, not weak but strong. Talos's face showed the first flicker of uncertainty. This changes nothing. The Council's judgment was made against a younger humanity, Junho cut in. That humanity is gone. We've spent 2 centuries preparing for this day. On Talos's ship, alarms began to sound. Sir, called one of his officers, we're detecting energy signatures behind the moon. From their hiding place, the human fleet emerged. 30 ships, each built with technology developed specifically to counter Council weapons. They had studied the barrier for generations, learning its secrets, understanding how Council technology worked. Last chance, High Arbiter, said Junho. Withdraw your ships and inform the Council that humanity requests diplomatic recognition. Talos hissed something in his native language. We do not negotiate with quarantined species. All ships open fire. Energy beams lanced out from the Council. Vessels toward the human fleet, but they dissipated before reaching their targets, absorbed by special shields designed after centuries of studying the barrier technology. All ships, Junho ordered. Execute Combat Plan Omega. The human vessels moved with perfect coordination. Their weapons fired strange pulses that the Council ships couldn't block. Within minutes, 3 alien vessels were disabled, drifting helplessly. On his flagship, Talos stared in disbelief. How is this possible? Their technology should be primitive. Sir, called his tactical officer. We're receiving reports from outposts in Sectors 7 and 12. They're under attack by human forces. Impossible. They couldn't coordinate across such distances. But they could. Yuna's quantum network allowed humanity to strike simultaneously across Council space. Carefully chosen targets, years of planning, all coming together in one day. Aboard the Phoenix Ascendant, Junho watched as the remaining Council ships retreated, jumping away to safety. Send the message to all human worlds, he ordered. Operation Daybreak is successful. Phase 2 begins immediately. As the word spread across human space, people who had lived their entire lives preparing for this moment celebrated. The children of exiles were taking their place in the galaxy, and the Council, for the first time in thousands of years, knew fear. The grand hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with light reflected from crystal walls. 7 massive thrones stood in a semicircle, each occupied by a representative of the founding species. Guards lined the walls, weapons ready. This chamber had never been breached in 10,000 years, until today. The massive doors swung open. Council guards moved to block the entrance, but froze when they saw who stood there. Admiral Junho walked calmly into the sacred chamber, flanked by just 2 officers. He wore a simple blue uniform with silver trim. No weapons were visible. "How dare you enter this place?" thundered Representative Gar of the Veldari, rising from his throne. "This is the heart of Council authority." "Yet here I stand," replied Junho quietly. His voice carried through the chamber without effort. "I come to speak with you directly. Our ships control the space around this station. Your fleets are engaged across 20 sectors. You have no choice but to listen." High Arbiter Talos stepped forward from where he stood beside the thrones. His gray skin looked pale under the lights. "You cannot hope to defeat the combined might of the Council. You may have won the first battles, but you will lose this war." Junho smiled. "We don't want a war. We never did." "Then why this attack?" asked Representative Nira of the Luma, her luminescent skin pulsing with emotion. "Why violate the quarantine? Why kill Council citizens?" "We took great care to minimize casualties," said Junho. "Unlike you, who would have exterminated our entire species for trying to leave our solar system." The Council members shifted uncomfortably. It was true. Junho gestured to one of his officers, who stepped forward with a small device. She placed it on the floor, and a hologram appeared. It showed strange star patterns and energy readings. "Do you recognize this?" Junho asked. The Council members leaned forward. Representative Cole of the Dreven, the oldest species, spoke for the first time. "Where did you get this?" "From beyond the outer rim, from the dark space you fear to enter." Silence filled the chamber. Then Cole spoke again, his voice a whisper. "The Void Eaters." Junho nodded. "That's what you call them. We've been monitoring their movements for 50 years. They're getting closer. Their feeding grounds will reach Council space within 30 years. "Impossible," said Talos. "Our sensors would have detected them." "Your sensors aren't good enough," replied Junho. "Humanity had to develop new technologies to survive our exile. We had to become more innovative, more resourceful. In doing so, we created detection systems that can see farther and clearer than anything the Council possesses." He stepped closer to the thrones. "That's why you feared us, isn't it? Not because we were violent, but because we adapt faster than you. We solve problems in ways you never considered." Representative Cole stood slowly. "It is true. The ancient records speak of a species that came before us. They were consumed by the Void Eaters. We believed the threat contained, but if your readings are accurate—" "They are," said Junho. "And humanity stands ready to help fight this threat. But not as prisoners, not as a quarantined species. As equals." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Cole looked at the other representatives. One by one, they nodded. "The quarantine of humanity is lifted," announced Cole. "A new treaty will be drafted recognizing human sovereignty over their worlds." As the words were spoken, something happened in Earth's solar system. The barrier that had stood for nearly 3 centuries flickered and disappeared. Ships that had waited near its edge passed freely into open space. And on Earth, people looked up at the stars with new eyes. Not as distant points of light forever out of reach, but as places they could go. Places where their children already lived. The exile was over. The empire of humanity had taken its place among the stars. And just in time, for the greatest challenge faced by all sentient life, approached from the darkness beyond.